If you struggle to find a higher time frame bias on any market, then this video is going to be for you. So this is the S&P 500 on the 4-hour time frame. I'm going to be breaking down my 4-step process that I use every day to find a higher time frame bias with an 85% accuracy. So what's really happening is traders lack frameworks which stop them from being profitable. So I'm going to show you a 4-step framework that I use here. So the first thing is I look for my basic market structure. So I'm just going to break that down on the S&P 500. So I've made previous videos on this. I recommend traders checking it out. But what I'm looking for, I'm just going to start over here. So this is from October of last year. We see a structural high, then a structural low. So I've chosen to start here only because the swing points are very clear to see. So we have a structural high, structural low, and then we have a structural high. Now, what's interesting about this, and I'm just going to break down how I think structure is quite simple to understand, but only if you apply it correctly. Now, when you look at market structure, what you want to look for is you have a dealing range high and you have a low down here. Now, the only time that this low becomes valid is when it breaks the previous high. And so what I often say to traders is you just want to draw an arrow like this. Now, it's a simple concept, but drawing an arrow gives you clarity on where the lows and highs actually are. So now if we continue the cycle, what we can see here is we have structural high, structural low, structural high, and now from here, this is our low. Now the reason this is a low is because it went on to eventually break the previous high. And so I would then recommend everyone just draw an arrow over here. Now this here is it's not the biggest break, but actually no, this is not going to be a breaker structure, right? So if you this here wouldn't be classed as a breaker structure. This is a wick break. So this would be the breaker structure, right? So just to make that clear, a breaker structure on the higher time frame, such as a 4-hour or the 1 hour, you want to see a body break, right? Essentially. So what you're seeing is this is the previous high, right? This is a wick sweep, so that's not a breaker structure. This is the breaker structure. And so you want to take that into account when you're looking at your market structure. So again, on the 4-hour time frame, just to go over the market structure again, this is the low that was responsible for breaking this previous high, and so this then becomes the high. I hope that makes sense. So market structure is one of the simpler concepts or simplest concepts if you can understand how to use it. So now on the 4-hour, when we go to the most recent market structure, especially in the news and everything that's going on with Donald Trump, this is your high, this is your low, and then this is your high. And so again, we're going to use the arrow approach. We're going to use that simple arrow approach, right? So this is a structural high. Now, I wouldn't bother marking. I think this is all internal structure. You can if you want, but it gets a bit messy. Structural high, structural low, structural high. Now, this becomes a strong high after we break the previous low. And so now we are back to, we've had a significant pullback. So I define a significant pullback as being V-shaped with at least 2 or more candles, which is exactly what you see over here. So when you look at it this way, what we can see is we have a break to the downside, and then we have our structural low. And so that is the first of the 4 steps that I use when it comes to determining higher time frame bias. So the second thing is, well, what we're going to do is we're going to write down the framework. So the first thing is market structure. And I just want to pause on market structure for a second, right? So market structure is it's one of the most diluted concepts, I think, right? Let me just make sure I spelled that right. Market structure. Yeah. So market structure is one of the most diluted concepts because it's one of the simplest but most misunderstood concepts, and I think it's underrated as well, right? Just being able to mark out a few of these highs and lows, especially recently, you don't have to go back all the way to last year, although it's good practice to. You want to understand where those highs and lows actually are, right? Knowing where the highs and lows are is very important because that gives you step 2. Now, step 2 is the dealing range, right? So step 2 is the dealing range. Dealing range, as I define, is the most recent low to the most recent high. And so how does that work? So we take the most recent low, which is here, right? It's not here because we look for the most recent low in the market structure. So structure comes first, then we go for dealing range. So once you have the market structure, the next thing you want to look for is the dealing range. So dealing range is that most recent low to that most recent high. So this is the most recent high. This is the most recent low. This is the dealing range. So we have highs and lows, market structure, step 1, right? Step 2, dealing range, okay? Now step 3, which directly comes off step 2, is the PD arrays or the premium and the discount. So this is where the bias will start to make sense, right? And I'm going to be breaking down an ES long that I took on the S&P from this region, right? So we want to be buying in discount. That's kind of the idea here. So premium and discount, very, very, very simple. So if you've used the fib tool, you've probably used it incorrectly. And this is how to use it correctly and also in a more simplified way, right? So you have your dealing range. This is the dealing range high, dealing range low. Just project the fib from the low, from the high to the low, or the low to the high, same thing. So this is your dealing range, right? So your dealing range is again comprised of the most recent high and low, and we just project the fib from the high to the low. That's all we do. Now, the final thing after this is fair value gaps, or some people call it key levels, right? Because my key levels come from fair value gaps. So you want to look for fair value gaps, and you want to then look for key levels. So these are the 4 steps that I follow, right? So you want to have your market structure, you want to have your dealing range, you want to get your PD array sorted. So again, this is premium, this is discount, and then you want to have your key levels, right? Where are your key levels? So you want to be looking for key levels, basically not near the 50% area. So you don't want to be trading anywhere near the 50% area. Best place to lose money, right? The best place to lose money is those that equilibrium, that 50%. So now from here, right, this is what's quite interesting. So this week we had longs after Tuesday. So Monday and Tuesday were bearish, or Monday was bank holiday. Tuesday and then going through Wednesday and Thursday was pretty bullish. Now the reason for that, again, I'm going to break that down. So what we had, if we go to now the ATAS platform, right? So the ATAS platform is over here. So I'm going to be breaking down this low. Now, when we have a reversal, right? When we have a reversal, what we're typically looking for is, this is a bullish reversal because we were bearish and now we're bullish. When you see this bearish reversal, what you're looking for from a sort of a candlestick perspective is you want to be buying below old lows, buying below old lows. And so, what do I mean by that? So it's a simple concept, but a lot of people they kind of mess this up, right? So what we see over here is we have an old low, right? And this low was, of course, below the old low, right? So it's a simple concept where you have a high, then you have another high, then you have a low. And what you're looking for is you're looking for these buy positions below the old low, right? So this is the old low, OL, and this is the new low. And so you want to be buying below old lows. Just from a candlestick perspective, that's what it looks like. I know it sounds obvious, but a lot of people miss out on that, right? They don't consider that. So you want to be buying below old lows. Now the second thing is you don't buy blindly. You need to actually know what you're doing. So you need to have some kind of an intraday level. You need to know essentially what was going on. I'll give people a trick here. Now, I mentioned fair value gaps earlier. So if we can see here on the 4-hour time frame, this was the fair value gap. So that's in blue right there. There is a 4-hour fair value gap just over here, right? So can you all see that? That's a 4-hour fair value gap. Now, in order to find your key levels, it's very simple. You take the candle before the fair value gap. So for me, it's going to be this candle, and we're just going to project that across. So this is my key level. So a key level is different to a fair value gap. Fair value gaps create the key levels that we're interested in. And so this is exactly what happened. We had a clean rejection off here. So in the 15-minute time frame, there were definitely some intraday trades on Wednesday and Thursday. Now, the reason we had such, I mean, I even took some of them, right? The reason we had such bullish activity, right? So this was a trade I took today, so buying off 69.43 on ES. The reason we had such bullish price action was because of this, right? There were 3 main reasons, right? So even more probably. So one of the reasons is we were coming into a 4-hour fair value gap, which holds some weight. The second thing is we were reacting off here with order flow, so I'm going to break that down as well. And the third thing is we were creating a dealing range. So this would then be your discount. So especially on Thursday, right? This was your discount. And so Thursday was definitely in the discount, and we just headed towards premium. Now, another reason is we gapped down on the previous day, right? So this was a gap down. So for those who don't know, I kind of treat gap downs similar to fair value gaps, right? Kind of the same. Price had a region to fill, right? Price had somewhere it had to kind of refill. So just by seeing this, hopefully you can kind of see the story I'm trying to paint here, right? So we had a fair value gap 1, we were in the discount 2, we had a gap over here 3, we were below an old low, sorry, 4. And now the final confirmation, right? The one that actually matters, the one that most people miss. Let's break this one down. So when we come into a 4-hour key level, right? What was going on specifically here? So this is what I want to introduce. So whenever you come into a key level, right? So let's label this here. So this is a key level. Now, when you have a key level, the reason I call them key levels and not support, resistance, or supply and demand, or any of these things, is because you need to let the market kind of unfold. You need to let the market tell you what it wants to do. There's no point calling this a support, for example, right? And then calling it a support, and then you take a buy over here and it melts. There's no point doing that. And vice versa. There's no point saying that, oh, this is a resistance, this is a resistance, then it blows through. There's no point doing that. What you need is you need to develop a plan. So we noticed how we started with market structure, dealing range, premium and discount, fair value gaps. Then we found our key level, just like this. So there's a process you want to follow, but once you've actually followed a process and you've come into your key levels, then it's just about order flow. And so order flow works in a very simple way. What we see is we see basically buyers coming in, sorry, sellers coming in. So sellers are driving price down. And then we see price struggling to go down. But what makes this a valid support is what goes on here, right? This here is very telling. What happens in the key level. So I'm going to label that in red. And so what's really happening here is quite interesting. So what we see is we see aggressive sellers, right? But we have no follow through. And so what do I mean by that? So I've made lots of videos on this, and I'm going to keep making videos on this so people can understand. Now, from a footprint chart perspective, right? So this is where you want to use higher time frames with footprint charts, right? So this is the same kind of action. So if we go to the 4-hour time frame here, we're seeing that we're kind of studying that same reversal, right? The same reversal we see over here. We're just going to break that down from a footprint chart perspective. So obviously candlesticks don't tell you much, but when we dive into it specifically, let's go to a 5-minute chart. So when we go to the 5-minute chart, we go to the same sort of area, that same 4-hour low, right? What do we see? What do we see? Now, what we can see here again, especially the low down here, right? What do we see that validates this? Well, we see this huge red delta. In fact, it's such a big red delta that it's even hard to read the number. Look at that. So we see 200 for 97, 178 for 65. Then we see this massive amount of aggression, selling aggression, right? So again, what does that actually mean? So I had a question about how do you determine reversals versus continuations. It's a bit of an incorrect question because technically speaking, from my opinion, every trade you take is a reversal, right? Every trade you take. Because what's going on is if you want to take a long, there's a reversal here. If you want to take a short, there's a reversal here. So there's a reversal here and there's a reversal here. So every single trade you take is a form of reversal. How do you know? The question is the direction of the reversal. That's what's important. And so the way you find the direction of the reversal is by following the four pillar framework. That's the first thing. You want to have a 4-pillar framework. The second thing you want to follow is you need to. This is the most important thing. You need to have some key levels defined. Right. So I'm not going to go over that in this video, but you need to have your key levels defined. And the last thing is you need to know what's going on between buyers and sellers. Right. So buyers versus sellers, right? That's the third most important thing. So follow this system, right? So if you're stuck on a system, just follow this system. So identify your structural dealing ranges, highs and lows, get your fair value gaps and key levels, and then jump to the ATAS platform to find your higher time frame bias. So the reason this is a higher time frame bias is because it's a 4-hour level. So this holds a lot of weight. So if we come into a 4-hour fair value gap and you can see a ton of aggressive sellers, in this case, there were a lot of aggressive sellers over here, a ton of them, right? Here, even here as well, entering the zone, huge amounts of negative delta, lots of negative delta here, negative delta, even here, negative delta, but we managed to push higher. So it shows you that the aggressive sellers had no follow through. And so what that means in very simple terms is when aggressive sellers have no follow through, they have been absorbed. And so this is the absorption principle. So if there's one thing you take away from this video is that a higher time frame bias must be found with absorption, not just fair value gaps or liquidity sweeps or any of this stuff. You need to have an absorption to show you who is in control, right? That's very important. You need to see who is in control of the markets, right? That's the only way you're going to make it work long term. And so if we clear this up a little bit and we go back to the charts, so this is my overall outlook on the S&P 500. So time of recording 23rd of January. So here's what I would be looking for on the S&P. right? So on the S&P, we have somewhat of a gap over here, right? This is like the gap down from the previous Sunday, right? So here's our gap down area. And so basically, it's very simple from here. If we can sustain higher prices here, I would use this as a retest area to eventually hit all-time highs. Now, another thing to be wary of, like I was talking about in the start of the video, if this is your dealing range high, this is your dealing range low, what's really happening is this is premium. And so this price is well within its rights to actually return lower and then form some kind of a discount. Now, the problem with that I see is that there's a tiny fair value gap here, but the truth is it doesn't really need to be filled, I don't think, right? So only if we break below sort of this gap down area, then we could see lower prices into discount. But if we break above here, then we're off to the races. It's going to be another all-time high. So that's my overall look on the S&P 500, or how I approach daily bias in the markets as a whole, right? So every single time frame or every single market I approach, whether it's even I used to trade forex, S&P 500, gold, Nasdaq, all the same, right? So just to break things down one more time, what we're looking for is highs and lows, right? So that's going to be structure. You've got to have your structure in place. You need to know where your highs and lows are. The second thing is your dealing range. Now, think of dealing range. Think of market structure as the vehicle to the market. So in other words, we have, at the moment the vehicle was technically bearish and now we're heading to bullish. So structure is like your overall vehicle to the market. Your dealing range tells you which playground you're currently in, just as an analogy. So right now, we're not interested so much in the highs and lows over here. That's not our interest. Our interest is specifically this area because that is our dealing range. And so a dealing range is basically the playground that we are currently, trading in. That's the only thing it comes down to. You need to know where the market is dealing in, right? Where is the dealing range, right? Is it the highs? Where's the high and low? Where are you trading from? Now, after you've done that, you need to get good at premium and discount, right? So the only reason I was able to catch longs from here, right, is yes, because of the absorption, but also because we were in discount. And so you need to understand versus uh, premium versus discount, right? That's the next thing. Premium versus discount, very important principle because you want to essentially be on the right side of I guess smart money, right? So this is discount, this is premium, and so you want to be buying from discount and potentially shorting from premium. That's the idea of there, and then from there you've got to know your key levels. You need to know your absorption at fair value gap. So if you're having a fair value gap, you're below an old low. What was going on here, right? So just to finish the video, I'm just going to put these two next to each other. So huge absorption, all the ton of sellers, they all fail, and that's the reason the S&P, in my opinion, is continuing bullish.